back to Project Independence in You on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I am Rebecca Miller along with Otto Lose, our co-host, and we are now at the Talk of the Town segment with Kristina Lou. And Kristina, who is today I'm changing. I usually say Kristina Lou, radio show producer extraordinaire. Today I'm going to call you the radio show producer fairy. And I'll tell you why, because no matter what kind of topic it is, she will find it. I said with these two guests that we just had on were, just so terrific. And I feel like, how have we not known them? Well, why have we not known them? Because they live in Georgia. But yet Kristina somehow, Otto says, we really need to get somebody on the show who knows about Alexa.
When Otto tells me these topics, I have to make it happen.
Kristina's like on the computer. She's like, okay, they're booked next week. We have two guests. And well,
they were excellent. They really were.
I have to say, so we, it was great. And I was thinking, during the break, the fact that we are on Zoom, I love, that we're able to get these guests who are so knowledgeable, when Otto, and we've been talking about this for a while, and it's hard to find a person who's that knowledgeable about this. I had no idea that Alexa could do all of those things. That was like a new, I was like writing down, because it's, the basic things, and I think I'm a pretty tech savvy person, but I had no idea all those capabilities that it really had. And Robin and Esther, I just loved their story. I loved how they got involved in it. And it was such a topic that can be very complex. I think they did a great job, and they're locked into the Project Independence radio show universe now.
So this is part one. Now we have to go forward and find partners who can.
Yeah, so I was looking during the break, and hopefully there might be something. Unfortunately it's not fully out there, but I was trying to find different organizations that might.
Well, I tried it. I won't mention their names, but I tried it with two reasonably large technology type stores chains, and they both gave me a little of this. And they're very interested. They all had big smart home departments. And I said, well, how about some public relations where you go and you present to seniors and whatever? And they all said, yeah. And then I followed up, and I never got anywhere.
Yeah. Well, that's what hopefully we could find a local thing, and that's with this device, this topic, for someone who is, tech savvy-ish, you don't have to be, it's definitely an easy thing to set up, for the senior who it might not be, it's something so small, and like we were all saying, it's a relatively affordable cost. You're able to really, change someone who is stuck at home existence. I loved the little routine things, the fact that you can just say good morning and there could be a whole list. It's like you're having a conversation with someone. And my best friend, she actually has the Amazon show for her son, so this is good for like all ages, and he has it in his room, so when he gets home from school, she could pop in, and she pops on the screen and could see him and see what he's doing, and she just loves it. And I was thinking about it, so this is wonderful tool for people of all ages, to
Kristina,
to really do.
How about maybe reaching out in the newsletter, a print version and electronic version, for anybody who has ideas for support that could be provided to help people implement these kinds of systems in the home.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Maybe we need like a technology themed newsletter.
Yeah, well, that's what I was ready. I was taking. Believe me, I was in here taking all kinds of notes on the home front. And I think it's more than technology. Because I was thinking actually about the theme of the next newsletter. And I've been updating our circle of support tool. Otto, you'll be happy to know. And so we're on the final details of that.
We should include Alexa in there as
I think it's all part of, as we said, last issue we had about preparing and, fire safety and these different things. And there's so many components.
Circle of support. The
preparing, yeah. So
which
Alexa
should include
in there as their
email addresses and
absolutely. And we were talking off air, Otto, and myself, with the circle of support, it's been a document we've had for a while, but I added like a page in it that lists your medications. Because I think that that's important, right? So if we're traveling with this tool, you want to have the medications. And then the back page has the list of everything, from FEMA that you need in like a preparedness kit, and that's like a little reminder. So this way it's all kind of in one document. We're gonna, work on digitizing it as well. So if you want to
I
have
got a new one for you though, with the list of medications, all right? Add in there, because I learned this as a result of going through this with Bunny with the knee thing, all right? When, like in the morning, these meds are administered. In the evening, these are administered. Not just a list, but also
yeah, it's a
when,
frequency of the duration. I did that. I have different categories.
good,
Right.
okay.
I was looking up like the appropriate medication kind of list.
Take as prescribed.
Right.
And
One of
another
the
one
other
is
things that,
as needed. In other words, they don't all get done every day.
right, as prescribed.
Yeah. Well, as
Because-
needed. In other words, if pain management.
Right.
If you have pain, you take Tylenol, extra strength.
Right, right. That's
you know.
as prescribed is, basically take as needed, take twice a day. It's how the doctor prescribes you to take it. But, as needed would definitely be a category. One of the things I was just thinking of is, we did have a major conference, Aging in Place conference on technology. And it wasn't that long ago, but it was definitely long ago enough that I don't think we had Alexa. We did have smart homes, though. We did have a company that did smart home stuff, and they were pretty advanced, even if I recall. So,
You know what I think here, because I remember, it's so funny because with technology, I mean, I look at that all the time. It's so rapidly evolving. I mean, look at yourself
Yeah.
and the amount of updates. I'll be like, didn't I just update my phone? So, and I think you're so right, Beck. And I think smart homes are an incredible concept, but it can be very overwhelming, of a process for a senior. But that's what I think is but that's what I think is so wonderful about this Alexa, because
right.
it's a an inexpensive small little device. It's not some cumbersome kind of thing, and you're really able to do so much. I like literally was blown away. I can't. I have just papers of like random things because it was just super informative for myself even. And I like that it's everything in one, right? So it's like safety, but it's also super fun, as we had talked about also. So
it's unbelievable technology.
yeah,
It
so
really is.
I'm very glad. Hopefully maybe we could also have them do some kind of little chat or something. We'll have them come to an advisory, or they're fully locked in now. Now I'm going to have them doing all kinds of wonderful things because they were great speakers.
And what I like about them is that, they're not preaching what seniors need. Like, they're not making assumptions. Like, so much of things and services, they're assumptions. Oh, well, seniors will need this, or seniors will need that. No, they saw the need and the connection based on their own experience. It was Esther being an occupational therapist and Robin having been through
with her
this
parents,
rapid, situation with her mother, where she went from being this active person to in 3 months passing away. So like, she this came out of, experience. And
you're so right. It's such a good point, Beck. It always makes me think of, John Ryan loved on this show hearing how people got into their career, because it's a very interesting piece of things, and,
right.
And with them, and that's what struck me when I was, when I found them and I was reading about them, I was like, oh, this is so cool, because, it was their personal journey and experience that led them into this world, and there's so many wonderful topics that they have blogs and different information on, but and I think that's some of the best people in the business, they're not just doing it for a job.
Another thought, again, I go back to my business world experience, all right? And I'd go on a call with some salespeople and who maybe worked for me at the time, and they'd go into a big, long dissertation about this thing here was great. It did this and did that, and it did all these things. And then when we get done with the call, I'd say to the person, well, how did that call go? He said, oh, it went really good. I said, it didn't really go good at all. You never found out if they needed this. Did they have a need for this? All right.
Right.
You go on with your big dissertation about how wonderful it is. How about let's find out what their needs are? And
Mhm.
do they need it? Is there any benefit to them? And if there's not, you're wasting your time. You're wasting their time, your time. And it's very true with this. You
Mhm.
know, there's a list that she said there's 100,000 skills. That's
Mhm.
probably not an exaggeration that
Yeah.
can be used with this thing. But
Mhm.
which skills are the ones that fit this person's
Yeah, and that's what,
situation?
when she hit
You
upon
know?
those top five, that's something that I'd really like to include in our newsletter. So
Yeah, I
people
mean
who aren't
that's
listening to
very
this,
important
yeah,
to zero in.
to zero in, right.
Mhm.
We
Otherwise,
know, me
it's
and Otto love a
it's
good bullet, I
well, it's
want like a clear,
it's overwhelming.
yeah.
Otherwise, and you got to
And
take that out of
especially
it.
for someone, and I think that that's always something, that everyone needs to remember a lot of times because, listen, and as the younger generation, I mean, they're born with like a tablet in their hand, I mean, I know like my 1-year-old little nieces will sit there with a phone and that little finger is like swiping like crazy. So you forget sometimes. And I think that Robin and Esther made a good point, for someone that this world is so foreign, these tests are very difficult, and it's important to remember that. I always think of my grandpa, like it's an iconic statement that we all make jokes about because he said to me one day, we were sitting there and he goes, now tell me, what's the difference between an iPhone and Facebook? And I was like, what? So, but it was
Right.
something, we laugh about it all the time, in my house because it was so like, wow, I'm going to have to really start from like square one on this topic. But, it's something like that that really shows that it's hard, so I want people to, in order to get people to be willing to do things, it has to be not as overwhelming, so I think to narrow down like the skills and get at the core benefits, and then you work your way up to doing, more.
Well, you got to be realistic, all right? Talk about like me. If I have to learn about something, I really want to start at the kindergarten level.
Yes.
And all the little kids nowadays, they starting at the kindergarten level.
Hmm.
Older people, seniors, are starting at the master's level,
Hmm.
and they didn't ever go to school between the
Right.
kindergarten and the masters.
Yeah.
So how are they supposed to know all those things? Reality.
No, you're
Unless, like
so.
me, I happen to have been in the business. I had to progress as it went along,
Hmm.
and I happen to like it. Uh, but it's difficult otherwise. You're going right up to the master's level, and you never went to school between kindergarten and there. If you think about it,
No, it's a great
it's a
point.
big
But listen,
gap.
it's something that I think, I'm glad that we have this, and hopefully we could, this shed some light and made people like, think. And I think just for the caregiver's peace of mind, it's so important too, because it's just as beneficial for them as the actual senior, in the home as well. So I thought it was a
Christina,
great interview.
I'm going to have to find you a topic that's really so complex that we're not, like someone from Fiji is going to be the only one, and you'll find that person.
I know.
So we
Otto's
have to
giving me
trip
some
her up,
doozies.
Otto.
Otto's definitely giving me some doozies. I remember like there was a couple of like Newsday articles that he would find, and he would be like, "Can you find this person?"
Uh,
I'm like, "I'll give it a go."
Actually, I do have one in my bag that I saw the other day, and you're the exercise person. It had to do with drum something or
Oh
other
yeah,
Oh
with
yes,
yeah,
a big ball.
Kim
And it
actually
had a
sent
yeah,
that
bunch of
around to
people
us
that were
too.
doing that. And I'm
yeah.
saying, I would like that because sometimes if I go to a wedding or whatever, I start playing drums with knives and forks after a wine or two,
Yeah.
I'm playing the drums. And I think
I've
that,
heard about it. It sounds like fun. It's not in my yoga wheel, but
Right.
that doesn't mean that, one of our fitness instructors
Yeah,
well, it's a big
in
senior thing in this
it is.
community. And I'm going to get the article and
Mhm.
I'll email it to you.
it's an excellent cardio workout, upper
Mhm.
body, right near the heart. You go at
And you're
your,
hitting a ball,
yeah,
Mhm.
right.
big ball.
Yep, yeah. And you pound
Otto,
the,
I'll totally join that class with you. I mean, you know what? I feel like we'll have a
I think
couple
it'd
of
be fun,
classes.
just
We
bam,
could we
bam,
could start
bam.
our own band, Otto. I really like that. But great interview. I could talk
yes.
about it for days. I'm really glad that, and we'll certainly have more information about this and their website. We'll have up at the end of the video too, because that is
Okay.
definitely a great resource. And I think I'm going to send it out to our social workers and nurses because I think it's a wonderful resource for them as well. So great thing. But also in exciting news, it is February, which I can't believe. Everyone always says January feels like the longest month, but I feel like January kind of went very fast this
It
year.
did. It
Right?
really did.
But it is, I'm wearing, some red because it is Heart
This
Health
is
Month.
red.
There you go. Beck, you failed your task. You better go quickly change.
I have my glasses are red,
Well,
Well-
there you go. See, I like it.
and my
but
hair was red
Your
last.
hair.
No,
Today is, everyone to wear red for Go, it's just to raise awareness. It's Go Red Day, and it's just to really raise awareness to cardiovascular health. We have in our email newsletter that came out a couple of days ago, we have an article just about stressing less for a healthier heart, because stress certainly has a lot of impact on your heart health. I think Otto was whipping out the documentation.
Actually, was this what part of it, right?
Yes,
stress less.
This is an
That's it.
excellent little document.
right?
It really
I
is.
thought so too.
It has a lot of good little tips on,
Mhm. I love a
these-
solid tip. I told you, anything with a golden nugget really is
Yeah.
my
on
my way.
de-stressing, which is easier said than done many
yeah, and
times.
it's and I want to, it's really a great tip. And if you are not getting the email newsletter, you can call 311 or 516-869-6311 and you will be signed up.
All right, well, we have to take a quick break. We'll be returning with Kristina Liu and Talk of the Town. You're listening to Project Independence in You on 88.1 FM, WCWP.org, and we'll be right back.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Yeah, welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Rebecca Miller, along with Otto Los and Kristina Liu, the radio show producer who pulls the show together every week. And we are in our second segment of Talk of the Town. I think most of our first segment we spent talking about the two guests that Kristina found and how amazing they were, and just a great energy, and we're looking forward to working with them. I know Kristina already has like plans for them. They, poor people, they have no idea what.
That's right. I lure people in and then they're trapped in our universe.
they are in the universe. And we were talking about how they came to be the right way, not assuming but understanding the need. And, and it just made me think about our evaluation tool that we use, that we send out to every new person they call in. And the questions aren't, deep, but, it does get into what, basically just trying to find out what their needs are. And based on the response we get, we kind of have a good idea of what programs would work for them, or, if they don't need anything right now. But, it's similar to what, how these two women came to be with Project Independence, is we don't make assumptions and say, this is what every senior needs. These, you can, for most part, especially, with healthcare and, social work, things like that, you're there, that things could happen. But in general, day-to-day lives, how to help aging in place. We're experts because we hear from the community what their needs are. We never really said, oh, we're going to do this. If we ever had a plan too, we always piloted the program to just make sure that it would work. So it's so important when you're working with, the older population or any population, is to understand what the needs are, and actually in that particular region, because the town, we even have different needs in different parts of the town of North Hempstead, where we have, with Great Neck, we have a lot of apartments. People who live in apartments have different resources than someone who lives in a house, so their needs are different, especially when it snows or things like that. So it's so important to listen and know what your resources are anywhere, in your direct community, in the community at large. And anyway, I digress.
Well,
But
I like
so
to call it
impressed with them.
sometimes an exchange of ideas. You basically, we provide ideas. I'm as PI, Project Independence, but I, as a town resident, am also providing ideas. So
Yeah.
it's a, it's a whole idea exchange thing. And
No, and that's how like the most successful programming really comes to be. Because it is, and that's what PI always was. On top of just our staff who work there, and our members of the community. It's our partnerships in the community. Because there are so many wonderful things. And having this radio program, we get to feature these amazing organizations and people. Who are providing these services. And that's how you really do a successful thing. Everyone's just kind of trying to work together. I mean, if the world could kind of follow the model that we're doing, I think we'd be in a better place. But it's really important, and it's always evolving, because the needs,
Right.
as we said, even with a technology thing, when we first started with Project Independence, and I know this firsthand because Paula Ewell, who's one of the deputy commissioners, and myself, we get the surveys and we read that, we go through them. I have like a whole data entry thing with them. And I just remember like when we first got them, and this was years ago when the program started, it was very rare that someone checked off that they had a computer. Like it was just not, you wouldn't check off. Now,
Or a cell phone.
It's really checked off, and then they have internet, and so it's really interesting, like the evolving. I mean, we could never even talk about like technology, and now we have technology for the terrified programs. We had Barbara Melman was on our show last week. She's going to be providing some different chats going forward. So I think it's important to keep and reevaluating programs and stuff. So it's really good stuff, and so stay tuned. I'm sure we'll have more on the technology front as well with all that. But
the other day we had the Zoom advisory meeting, which, by the way, I thought everybody from I'll call it management of Project Independence did a great job. So credit to all.
Thank you. It was a wonderful turnout. I have to give a shout out to everyone.
Yeah.
We had like close to 70 people on a Zoom call, and it was people who called in and people who were doing the videos. It was I was taking all these screenshots and piecing it together to get one picture because it was really an amazing turnout. So I was glad for that. And that just shows you right there. That was 70, seniors, mostly seniors. There was a couple of professionals, but majority were seniors who joined a Zoom call, whether they did it on the phone or, video. That just shows you right there how incredible.
Well, one of the programs that came up talking about listening and talking about people's needs, this Project Grasp, Seed Grasp. I really didn't give that a lot of thought, although I do have two friends who are in that situation, who are basically raising grandchildren for a variety of reasons. Drugs is one of them. They said they have 26 sets of grandparents who are involved with that. That's a great program for people who are in that position. Where you're all of a sudden you're in your 70s or wherever you are, and you're raising children.
And during COVID, I was reading the reports because when I was putting together my year-end report, I was reading, I love the narrative details that these programs, right? Because you'll see these numbers and you'll say, oh, that's great. But really to know, especially during COVID, how difficult and how needed this program really was for grandparents. Here were grandparents at home that now had kids at home who had to go to remote learning, and that's just, a whole world. I laugh with my friends because they said that was literally the most torturous part of the whole COVID thing, was like having to do remote learning. And if you have, one or more children, it's just crazy. And just to see what they did and how they helped, the grandparents who were so overwhelmed, and it was hard because in the past, they would be able to go out and there was different activities, but now everything was in home. So they really figured out ways to connect to both the senior and the grandchild, which I think is just so important.
Because it is a respite program for the grandparent, and during COVID, it just, how do you, just like us, how you just come up with ways. But, Otto, I agree. It's such a fascinating program and so important to, acknowledge. There are grandparents today who aren't taking full care of their grandchildren, but, because of people working and, where maybe they thought they could have more of a retirement life, and at the senior centers, they're partnering with their children to take care of the grandchildren. So yeah, it's
No, and
That's
speaking of,
complicated
yeah,
because you're playing both roles
yeah,
right.
during the day, whether you like the idea or not. You can't have to act like a parent.
hmm
You don't want the kid to just run crazy. Yet you have your children who may monitor how you are taking care of their children. So there's probably a
a lot
lot
of
of
dynamics. Yeah,
a lot of
Yeah.
dynamics
there's a
involved.
lot
Yeah.
of dynamics that go
And
into
then
it.
there are the children themselves who may have
Yeah,
some issues.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
it is.
Yeah.
It's the family dynamics, man.
Totally. Getting back to that Project Independence advisory meeting, that was just so, had a lot of people. We had our new town supervisor and
Yes.
other elected officials. And, she is, just so impressed with Project Independence, and
No, and
she
she comes,
always
speaking
was.
of background, she comes from a background where she worked in the nonprofit, realm, and, she wanted to be a social worker herself, which we found out, which I thought was so cool. So of course, I told them all to expect calls from me because I'll be scheduling them for the radio program.
Yes. Yes.
So
Looking
it was
forward to
really
that.
wonderful. And what's exciting is that, fingers crossed, in March, we will have our first hybrid advisory committee. So we're working out the details of that. It's scheduled to be March 16th at 10 a.m. I believe, or is it 10? I think it's 10 a.m. Um,
10,
and
10
that,
a.m.
so that will be, at Clingy Martin Park in New Hyde Park. So we'll have people if they want to be in person. And then we're also going to have, ways to people who want to be home on Zoom, how we'll figure something out. So we're in
Right. Right. Oh, yeah.
figuring out the logistics
Yeah.
of that, but it's exciting, so hopefully all goes well and we're able to do that, and stay tuned. We really want to spotlight our partners, like the going forward. So hopefully each meeting will have a different partner being able to kind of talk about the services that they are providing.
I had one that really rang my bell. This thing came out about from the town about transportation innovation series, and one of them is Electric Vehicles 101. And I've been thinking about electric vehicles and all the hurdles that exist to me to make electric vehicles so that every car in Jackson Heights, Queens is going to have an electric vehicle. How they all going to be charged and all of the above. And there's a lot of questions in my mind. How long did batteries
Well,
last?
Otto, I hope you will sign up to do this.
Well, I'm going to sign up for
What
that one.
Otto
That's
is
why I brought it up.
referencing is it's the Town of North Hempstead is doing a transportation innovation series. So there's 3 different programs. It's a free program hosted by the Town of North Hempstead, and the goal really is to reduce traffic and emissions and just kind of finding greener ways to get around the town. So the first one is Don't Drive Yourself Crazy. Bingo. I like the little clever name. That's Wednesday, February 16th at 7 p.m. And that's going to be all about green mobility options in the town, including local train, bus, shuttles, paratransit, and more. And a fun game of virtual bingo, which is, who doesn't love to? I love like the learning during bingo because I think that's a great technique. Winners will receive a $50 gift card to a Town of North Hempstead restaurant, which I thought was really fun. So that's on February 16th at 7 p.m. and it's virtual. Then on March 23rd at 7 p.m., also virtual, is Walk or Bike North Hempstead. And that's really just going to tell you about just obviously all the benefits about walking and biking, especially with, the nicer weather that hopefully will be coming our way soon. And we all know that North Hempstead has beautiful hiking trails and beaches and parks. So there's certainly a wonderful environment for that. Then what Otto was talking about on April 12th at 2 p.m., and this is actually in person at Clinton G. Martin Park, it's going to be electrical vehicles one-on-one, where there'll be a whole panel of experts. I might have to pop in, Beck. We might have to pop in and see this one while we're at work, because it sounds really great to kind of find out information and be able to kind of get all your questions. So that's April 12th at 2 p.m. at Clinton G. Martin Park. Obviously, you can call 311 or 516-869-6311 to get any additional information on those. But as they come up, we will certainly be promoting them. So
Good stuff.
Yeah, really interesting. I think all three of them are very interesting topics. And before the break, we were talking about February being Heart Health Month, and
Yes.
just about stressing less, which I think is good for your heart and for a bunch of other things in your life. And I've had to give us a pat on the back because a lot of these stress less techniques are really what we talk about. We always talk about meditation and deep breathing, and these are simple things that really can go a long way. And I said, my golden nugget that I took with me is when Rebecca had shared about the 3 deep breaths that her friend who is she a pulmonologist? What there was something
She's a respiratory therapist.
a respiratory therapist. And that technique, it's something so easy. And every hour just to take those 3 deep breaths. And I tell everyone that, that's my
Yeah.
golden nugget that I spread to, because it's something very easy. And especially when I'm walking outside, I like to incorporate that into, and it just
Right.
certainly.
And
makes
what's important, I want to add to the 3 deep breaths
Mhm.
is, well, we talked a lot about that during COVID, when,
Mhm.
because when you fill up the lungs and they expand, if you have any mucus plugs,
Right,
it'll
like
move
breaks
it
it
around.
up.
So nothing stagnates. I mean, I can't guarantee it, but
Mhm.
when you're functioning that way. But an important thing to do, and I don't know if I had mentioned it, is when you breathe in, you should smile. You bring in a lot more positive energy, or
I
think
like that.
of something positive. So, and that's something that I also recommend for everybody in the morning when you first wake up. Before you put a foot on the floor, just lay in bed, take a few breaths with a little bit of a smile, and bring in that positive. Because when you smile, you can't help the brain automatically
Yeah.
recognizes
It was
the
like our
smile
laughter yoga topic we had on our radio program, that they said it actually tricks your brain. If you
Right.
just deactivate it, it really makes your brain think like, oh, look, we're happy right now.
Right. Because we all have complicated days, whatever is going on. But isn't it better to be in, not dread waking up, or not saying, oh, I got too much stuff. Just take time for yourself. Take in a few positive breaths, let it out slow. When you exhale, you let the body soften, which lets go of tension. And that's another thing that you want to do when you take in those 3 breaths. Bring in positive, be a positive for yourself, take care of yourself. It's about nurturing yourself. And then on the exhale, you exhale and release and soften the body. So in yoga, when we go deeper into a pose, it's always on the exhale, because when you exhale, what happens? The body softens. So if you think of a balloon, what happens when you fill up a balloon, right? It goes
Right.
to capacity. And when you let the air out, it softens, and you're much more able to
Spendable.
move around. So when you're doing those exercises, I'm so proud of you,
I
Kristina.
am. I tell you,
So glad
I
you're
like
doing it.
something that's easy enough, and that's
Every
why I
hour,
like bullet. What'd you say?
every hour, or you
It's
try,
every hour. I try,
or when
obviously,
you're
but
conscious of it, mindful,
Yeah,
if
Right.
you
yeah.
will.
Throughout the day, do it a few times, especially if you're seated. So,
Yeah.
like, a lot of times when we're older, and if we're unfortunately in a situation where we're ill and we're in a hospital for some reason, you want to get those lungs, you want to keep those lungs going instead of things just stagnating. So a lot of times the respiratory therapist will come in and pat the back or help the person do breathing exercises. But there's a lot of reasons to do that, for
Yeah,
us.
and that's what I think, with all of these techniques, and this was being showcased, due to Heart Health Month, but it's really beneficial for so many different, the body's all really kind of just joined together, and especially your brain and mental really ties into that too. So doing all these things, and they're easy, I'm realistic, right? I'm not the person who wants some complex thing that I have to do every day. So if there's a couple of little things that I can do that make me feel good and are beneficial,
And doesn't cost anything.
right, free, please, sign me up.
Free of charge.
But
That's
next,
great. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
You remember the Bodies exhibit, I think maybe
Yes.
10 years ago or
Mhm.
something like that.
Downtown.
From that point on, I realized how complicated the body is that we're walking around in. There's and I'm not exaggerating, there's like 1 million miles worth of nerves in our body, you know? And that's a lot of miles and that's a lot of nerves. So to expect a doctor, and give credit to doctors to try to diagnose what the problems are, but to expect a doctor to know everything that's going on in there is not realistic. They have guidelines, but there's so much going on in this
No, I
body.
think that's such a good point too, Otto. It's so important. You'll always hear like, obviously, meet with your physician, your doctors for different things and stuff. But it's so important also to read your own body and to be in tune with your own self, because no one, what happens in me, be like, oh, that feels a little weird. That doesn't, that didn't seem like that's the case. So it's very important. And I think doing all these kind of techniques and being aware of your body, really is beneficial, because, no one knows your body like yourself, what's going on inside. So it's certainly important to always remember those things and to be in tune with it. So
Yeah, I mean, during yoga, keep going back to that, but
Mhm.
one of the things they say is listen to your body. It's
Mhm.
telling you what it needs. Now, it's more complicated than that, but
right.
the worst thing you're going to do is, hey, oh, it hurts when I do this. Let me go deeper. Let me see if I can do this. But no, it's like Otto, even going back to what we were talking about before, accept that you're at a yoga class, you're doing the best thing for you, and that maybe today you're not gonna go deeper into a
Right.
twist or a stretch or a hip opener. You just go where you're at. But now we're crossing over into different things. But it's understanding, but like kind of what you're
Yeah.
saying, understanding your own body and listening to what the
Mhm.
cues are, and like, if you call something's going on, just go to the doctor, or
Mhm.
that kind of a thing,
Absolutely.
You
always
can
check
carry
with your
that
doctor.
thinking to a lot of things, really. I'll use it maybe a kind of a simple analogy, but things like golf, or any form of entertainment. You go out to play golf, and I play golf sometimes with people that go ballistic because they hit a bad shot or whatever. And what the problem there is that they have not accepted the reality of who they really are or
Mhm.
what they're capable of. You know, I always told people, even though I wasn't bad at golf, but I said I could practice 7 days a week and I'd never be good enough to be a professional golfer. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So the sooner you accept that, the more you're going to enjoy being
True.
on the golf course, looking around, seeing the birds, the trees,
You know what?
enjoying the
On that
people.
note, we're going to take a
A
quick break.
break.
You're listening to Project Independence in You on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We will be right back.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Project Independence in You on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. Rebecca Miller, your host, along with Otto Los and Christina Liu, the radio show producer who pulls together these shows every week. Also, Dan Cox over at this fabulous radio station that has kept Project Independence in You going since inception. So we love you, Dan.
That's right.
And
We have a good time doing it. So it's all.
We do. We have a good time doing it and pulling it all together. So we're just talking. I just love talking with you guys so much, especially when we get to talk about yoga and breathing and acceptance.
No, because these are all. Listen, we are here. We are in the business of having some golden nuggets, and really having practical information that people who are listening or watching.
I'd like to go one step further with the
Yeah.
breathing.
Golf.
Are we breathing through our nose or our mouth?
Yes.
Or
We are
both?
breathing through our nose. So we breathe in and out through the nose,
Yep. And then you
Now,
let out
there
your
is
mouth.
breath in the back of the throat. We call in Sanskrit, it's called Ujjayi Pranayama. And it's the exhale sound. It makes kind of like an ocean wave. So you go, it's like you take in that breath and you just engage. You can engage that exhale. It's in the back of the throat. I mean, ideally in yoga, you're breathing through your nose. And However, you can always, I mean, I also offer a nice open mouth exhale, but I love the nice, slow, long in breath through the nose
Mhm.
and then a slow exhale. And as you're
Through the
exhaling,
mouth.
imagine the body,
Yes.
you could do mouth or nose. Imagine your whole body, you're like releasing the tension from your head all the way down through your shoulders. We all have tension areas, right? Shoulders, lower back, wherever it is. And as you're exhaling, you just allow the body to soften. Imagine it's like just leaving the body. So one of the areas I talk about all the time in yoga is the lower back. So, in yoga, you're doing a lot of kind of complicated moves, slow moves. You may have, you're reclining, you may have you're reaching your knee back over your head, you're cut, down at the shin, pulling it back, extending the left leg forward. So the lower back is saying, hey, what's going on here? So it just wants to get you back in alignment. It doesn't really get until you breathe and you like kind of think about that area and just exhale and let that area soften so you can come into the pose without any tension. But tension has a memory. It'll be back quickly, but it's kind of just being able to hone in those areas too. So kind of like notice how your back feels up against your mat when you're tense, and then take that breath in and kind of imagine on the exhale, you're letting the tension go. And that's what you should do in your shoulders. We all do that naturally. Like, I think I've talked about this before, especially, when you have family members that are aggravating you or the kids are aggravating you. What do? What is the automatic thing you do? Everyone does it. They just go, let me step back and take a breath. And that's exactly what you're doing. And that's the impact that you want when you're managing or controlling your breath a little bit more, doing that kind of breath work.
Would you like to go deeper on when family members are aggravating you?
I don't want personal stories.
Well, here, also with yoga, we do have props. So we have a brick, but it doesn't weigh anything. So if you throw the brick at them, that's very light, they're not going to get hurt. But if you throw a heavier brick, so I don't recommend that at all. I'm just saying,
You're just using that as an example.
Yes,
right.
Just an example.
Stay away from goat
for
yoga.
Other people. For other people.
Right.
Yes, that's
right. Never.
But these are all awesome things, and you can join a Project Independence exercise class, and certainly do these, and you could watch Rebecca on North Hempstead TV doing her fabulous yoga as well. So these are all, I like that we have all these, and I really do. I think that that's something that, as beneficial as it is for your physical, it's so important for your mental
Absolutely.
health. And I just, I'm a big proponent of all of that, especially now. But next week, we have a repeat show. But the following week, we're coming back on, we're going to have American Heart Health Month, Heart Health Tips for All will be the topic. So that should certainly be wonderful. We're having St. Francis Hospital on to discuss that. And also kicking off in March, our St. Francis Cardiac Screening Van partnership. That's going to be hitting up a bunch of different locations. The first one's at Fusillo Park in March. So I think that that's going to be really great. So definitely, and you don't have to make an appointment for any of this, which is so wonderful. That's my favorite part about the St. Francis Van.
Yeah.
You can literally just be in the area and go and get a screening. And talk with someone. They give you resources. It's a really great service. So that is February 18th. We'll talk about that. And then in February 25th, we're going to wrap it up with Stephen Chasman over at the Long Island Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence. And he's just going to be talking about substance abuse, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic, and just different resources, which is certainly important as well. So
Looking
and then we'll be
forward to
done
that.
with February, guys. I can't believe we're just flying through these months. And also in February, there's a lot of PI programs that are coming up as well. We always talk about our social groups that we have. So we have our social discussion group, our men's group, our caregiver support group. These three right now are all virtual based upon the group's decisions. They wanted it to be virtual at this time. But then we have on Golden Hearts Bingo and blood pressure screenings. This is over at the Roslyn Community Center on Thursdays. We were talking about just how bingo just is a fun way to kind of engage people, but then you're able to meet with one of the project independent social workers and nurses and also get your blood pressure screened and just talk about anything. And this is in person, which is nice if that's something you want to do. So that is on Thursdays. And then we have our Fridays at Yes We Can program kicked off today, right? Today was the
Yes.
first day.
Yep.
So that has exercise for balance and strength is the first part of the day. Then there's what in the world is going on. That's a current events discussion group.
Right.
And then there's Color Me Calm, which is so nice. It's the adult coloring and kind of a nice little peaceful activity to do. So that's on Fridays at Yes We Can. So
I want to add one thing, because I think twice a month, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristina, we're going to have Gina, who is
Yep.
the social worker for that region. She will be there as well. So,
absolutely. And I know Kelly, one of our nurses, is also going to try, I think, and get over there some price. So we were just
Right.
going back and forth on the schedules and stuff. So once we have all that nailed down, it's really
That's great because it's a busy day. There's a lot
Yeah.
of people, and they would have access to like the full panel of project independent services, on those Fridays. So
absolutely. And then we have a chat over at Magnolia Gardens with our partnership with Cornell Cooperative Extension, who is another fabulous part of our radio show family too. We've had them on a bunch of times. Such great information.
right.
Their theme is going to also be about American heart health, and it's going to be about first-rate fats. I find this super interesting because you always hear people think, oh, I shouldn't go near that, but there's a lot of fats that are actually really good for you and healthy, and that you need to incorporate in your diet. So they'll talk about that. That's at Magnolia Gardens on February 23rd at 11 a.m. So you can call to register for that. And then we are ending February with Technology for the Terrified Smartphone Basic Refresher course. That's going to be on February 28th at 11 a.m. at Clinton G. Martin Park. So we're super excited to be bringing this back, especially in person, and just doing a solid refresher class, which is really great. So those registrations are certainly coming in. So I encourage anyone, if you are interested, to register as soon as possible at 311 or 516-869-6311. And Beck, now I'm going to turn this over to you in terms of the exercise class. I know that a lot of registrations are coming in. Is there any classes that are closed out at the moment that people can't register for, like currently?
Yeah, so our Monday classes right now, we moved to wait list with Margaret. So, we're following all the New York State and CDC guidelines in terms of, social distancing and how many people can be in a room. And, we're trying, as that kind of comes through, we have a better idea, maybe we can add 10 people. So, unfortunately, we're still kind of in that situation, but we are doing in person. And because we have limited space, we still are only offering one class per participant for the season. However, if there is a class after we're kind of through with registration that's light, people who are we can offer that up. Like I know that we have a yoga class on Thursdays that's kind of light right now. So if somebody's taking another class, we could probably squeeze them in. So we have some classes starting next week and some classes starting the beginning of March just because of the instructor schedules. So Mondays and Wednesday mornings will start in March. Wednesday afternoon with Joe Panico will start Wednesday. Well, it's Tuesday. We've got Suzanne doing yoga at Yes We Can. And then in the afternoon, we have Joe Panico doing Tai Chi at Yes We Can. And they're still opening. So if you're interested in those classes, you can still call 311. Wednesday, we have Joe Panico at the Port Washington Activity Center at 1 o'clock. And then Thursdays, we have yoga at 10 a.m. back at Yes We Can. All the other classes, specifically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with the exception of Joe, will start the first week of March. So
Great.
Got some good programming, great exercise. And the one thing we've been talking a lot about is even if you're not currently exercising, or maybe you're not really someone who exercises, or maybe you just choose to maybe walk, there is that social aspect of these in-person classes that you can take part in. Even a lot of people take all of these classes seated in a chair. So you're seated, you're still getting a little movement, and it is a social activity, and you're engaging, and our instructors are all senior minded and very positive. And you get to see people too, and you're in an environment that is social distancing and safe for what it is. So there's that aspect too. So even if you're not into the whole fitness scene, you certainly can sign up for one of the classes and come and just see what's happening. So we encourage that as well.
Live is always better. I tried. I have a treadmill home downstairs, and I tried using a treadmill because of the snow and whatever.
Mhm.
And I take a tablet and I put it up, and I go to YouTube, and I get an all trails video of supposedly walking in the woods. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't cut it. I'd rather walk out in the street here and
Sure.
and be out there. Like, I can't explain it, even if it's
It's fresh
I'm not
air.
communicating
Yeah.
It is.
or talking
There's
to
so, well,
people.
you know, it is. There's a benefit. We talked about this a lot during the pandemic when that whole theme came out of awe walking, and it was just so important to be in a pretty situation, where there's trees and you're noticing the trees and the birds and the sky and the flowers. I mean, I spent so much of my time doing that, during the height of the pandemic. And that in itself had, beneficial things about, being outside in nature, which is certainly nice. So that's why I can't wait for the warm weather to come. I'm done with the snow. I'm staring at my window now, watching the rain melt away the snow, and it's a really nice feeling.
Well, I do this Jones Beach thing Sunday
Mhm.
mornings, right? And I looked at the forecast, and I think it said 21, and it's going to feel like 12 or some number
Oh my
like
God.
that. Well, we still do it, but
and I give you props on it because I was there 2 weeks ago. I think Jay and I went for a walk later in the day at Jones Beach, and I was telling him, I said, listen, Otto does not miss a Sunday. So if Otto can do it and not be cold, we could certainly do it, Jay. So
do you remember
more
where you
inspiration.
went? Which parking lot?
We went to Field 4.
Oh, okay. Field 4 is on the non-beach side.
Oh, you know where we also went? Do you ever go to Field 10?
That's down all the way.
Yeah,
by
I never
Robert
even knew there was
Moses.
a Field 10. And
You can
Jay and
walk to Fire Island from there.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It
Yeah.
was so nice. We were like, why did we never do this? So that's what I also think is something that this COVID pandemic certainly taught me and my husband is, living on Long Island, there's so many beautiful beaches and woods and parks and to really get out and explore them. I was like, I lived here forever. Why did I not know there was a Field 10?
Yeah, we go to Field 6, which is
Yes.
Yeah.
on the water side.
Yes.
Right. And
Yep,
it's
we
great.
do Field 6 all the time too. Yeah, it's really nice. And I think, but Otto, and I love the fact that I always see on Facebook, you and your family, very dedicated. On Sundays they'll take their picture of what, and it's sometimes it's cold, like really cold, and the weather is a little
Yeah,
precarious.
we've kind of outdid ourselves a couple of times where the rain came down so bad with the wind, it was like, oh my God, where are we, crazy? And we shouldn't have been there.
Well, you know what?
But you know what? It's very therapeutic. These are people, they're all obviously younger than me, except my one cousin, he's still younger than me. But a lot of it really comes down to it's like therapeutic chatting while
Yeah.
you're walking.
Mhm.
Like some of them have some problems, marital situations and whatever. And it gives everybody an opportunity to kind of talk and,
Yeah.
what stays in Jones Beach stays in Jones Beach.
Like that.
No,
that's wonderful. And I think that that's such a good tip. And listen, you can go, you're not paying anything. You're just walking, and the boardwalk is beautiful right now too. So it's great.
Well, I can't believe it. We're at the end of the show. It went super fast. Kudos, Kristina. Great show. Great guest. Really terrific. I think they're going to be part of our family. Otto,
are.
thanks so much for all you do and for Project Independence. It's just a pleasure.
Good team.
Yeah. So you're listening to Project Independence and You on 88.1 FM, WCWP.org. And everybody have a very safe weekend.